we were very much a guinea pig. Things have been refined, and in the middle of it, dropped COVID. So we ended up having to learn to take sessions online. How do you borrow a library box when you're stuck inside the house for 6 months because you're not allowed out? That was quite unusual as well, but we got there and we passed, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. So if you're thinking of doing the course, please come and have a chat with me, and I will tell you how it actually has helped to form me and my ministry and where I am now. And I'll also share with you, I'm really out of my comfort zone, being here standing in front of you without having something to put this on. So if the papers start shaking, you know I'm just going to have to sit down. Is that okay? So I'm talking here about the benefits and challenges of youth residentials. So before we go any further, I would just like to put this on the screen. And if anything I'm going to be talking about is triggering in its content of what's gone on in the news recently, then I'm just going to leave this on the screen for a moment. And diocesan, actually the provincial safeguarding team are here today. But if anybody is triggered by anything that I am talking about and needs to speak to anybody, then this team are also aware. And you can contact them at any time. So, I need to stress at the beginning of all of this the importance of safeguarding. There's information about this on the Church in Wales website, and there's also a safeguarding awareness course, which is aimed at all of us within our church communities. And it's there to equip you to help make the church and to keep the church a safe place. There's other courses available besides the basic course, and they are tailored to what you do within your roles within the church. But if you do nothing else except take the basic safeguarding course, that's your first steps. And safeguarding is at the heart of the church's life. It is at the heart of mission and pastoral care, and it is as much about theology, scripture and ministry as it is about the law. If it's not safe, it's not church. And I've also got to mention the needs of current DBS checks. And there are officers here today who can assist you if you need to go along those steps. People don't realise that DBS checks need to be renewed. So, residentials. Why should we be considering them? We seem only to have heard about bad publicity this last year. How would it be perceived by parents if they suggested and advertised? And COVID has meant a break for a lot of them, and 2019 is probably the last time that any of the residentials run. So let's unpick and look what benefits can come from a residential over the next 30 or so minutes. But I'd like to discuss and take any questions at the end, if that's okay. Because, to be honest, if you interrupt me, I'm probably not going to get back on track, so if that's okay. So any questions I will take at the end. Research from fields of education and psychology has consistently shown that the core values of young people, and consequently their own worldview, are formed in their adolescent years. Kids may not even know what they believe, but they believe it nonetheless. In other words, values and beliefs are caught and not necessarily taught. But having run camps and residentials, with my husband who's here today, mentions of camps can put leaders into cold sweats and panics. The what ifs and the can'ts come into your head. So let's talk about one of the first main barriers, and that's costs. Coming home with a letter, and as a parent as well, I've been in that situation, you want to go on this and it's a lot of money. we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis at the moment. So if children can all buy into the cost of camp by fundraising towards it, their ownership and affinity to it is greater. It takes the pressure off parents with the money and also provides, this is very important, a level field for all to attend. Even if you have funding or sponsorship to run a camp, still think about something that allows the children to take the ownership, to serve others and encourage them to plan. Ideas that we've used have been car wash, an afternoon tea, a sponsored something, backpacking in the local supermarket, and there's a lot more other things that you can think about to do. Organisation is also essential. And don't try and do it all yourself. Involve the parents. It takes away their worry if they know what's going on. Again, involve the kids if you can in the planning. It makes it more fun, especially suggestions for the food. And for those of you who can afford to go catered, fantastic, you're the lucky ones. It's less stress for a leader. However, there's a lot in the fellowship of helping with the catering, serving others, having tasks, and learning the importance of hospitality. Remember, this is only a day, a weekend, or a week. So don't have to think of everything being perfectly balanced regarding to calories, proteins, and the fibre a day. Healthy food is important for our daily life. But it is okay if one day you plan pot noodles and the unpeeled fruit. That's fine. What is important here is an awareness form for all allergies, and also an input with the first aider into your risk assessments. And of course, you have to do your risk assessments for any camp. One camp that we undertook, children took their own box of cereals for the week, labelled with their own name. It was their choice. It was their dietary requirement. And only they touched it unless they wanted to share. This reinforced at camp that we were all individually made. And looking at those boxes lined up, we all had different tastes. It promoted awareness about allergies, and I'm one of the ones who's got the allergy. It showed independence, and believe it or not, started conversations and boosted confidence. Because if their food was different, so was everybody else's with those cereals boxes. And it also helped with self-esteem. Top tip when it comes to looking at the food. Nowadays, most supermarkets will deliver anywhere, even to a bunkhouse and a campfield. And you are allowed to order Domino's, Papa John's, and do a chip shop run. But meals are always shared together, taken together, around a table, in a circle, on the floor, and someone will say grace. Another practicality. If you're using tents, have a practice run. Check they're waterproof, and you know how to put them up. We spent one night till gone midnight trying to get all the tents up. We couldn't find where we put the instructions. And as for phones and chargers, encourage extra batteries to be carried. You can guarantee that kids are on them a lot of the time. They use them as torches, and most have their Bibles on their phones. And you can guarantee they will always run out just before the Bible session. Let me come to another topic on mobile phones. It is sometimes a good idea to have times for mobile phones and times not to have phones. It's a season for everything. You could facilitate this by having charging in a locked room or in a car, or sometimes some of the places we've gone to have charging pods. And think about technology fasting rather than traditional fasting as we prepare to devote ourselves. And also this encourages social skills and making friends. COVID drove many things to technology: schoolwork, leisure time, Remember all those quizzes online? Friendship groups on WhatsApp, and for me, my study. And in order for people to connect in a personal way, no technology ties, I believe, are important. But I don't think it's right to ban all phones from camps. For some, it might be their safety blanket, but they might need out of technology fasting times. It also helps to prevent homesickness. It might well be their first time away from home. This might be their first camp. It's been 4 years of nothing going on. And for me, it is my Bible on there, and maybe also my newsfeed and my Pinterest. Bible time on camp is so important, dwelling in the Word. So give consideration to what and how you will do this. Are you going to do this with a recognised course? Are you going to ask older members to prepare and share something? Are you going to go with daily readings and be led by the Spirit? You will know your group, but whatever you choose, make it different to what you normally do and allow the time of God. What I mean by that is a lot of church programmes are run on the same mode of school. Short, style classes that are taught. Kids here teaching and new information. And there may be some short discussion. And then they're on the way to do something else. Well, a well-run youth Christian residential allows opportunities for children to have some time with God, to be able to ponder the very important questions of the wonder and the why, to recognise and embrace spirituality. And these times are typically brief or long, according to your age appropriateness on your residential camp. But the key is to allow people to own their faith by actually introducing and practicing some of the basic spiritual disciplines: the fasting, common worship, small groups, daily prayer, rest and retreat, personal conversation and direction, that's a conversation with the Father, and not simply being a student in a youth group or a Sunday school or a Sunday club, but importantly, exploring stewardship. On making friends and influencing, I believe having a mixed age group at camp is essential. And they don't all have to be all friends or all churchgoers when they go. Ours have often been mixed. The younger look up to the older. They aspire to be that older person, that older youth, the confident, cool, got it all together role model. And the older child may be encouraged into leadership by the younger's adoration of wanting to be like them. When young people interact with new friends who share their beliefs, talk openly about them, and live a life that sincerely involves God, their own faith can grow greatly. One common meaning of the word discipleship that is found in the scriptures is to rub off on something. Discipleship in the Bible doesn't mean getting lots of sermons or hearing Bible lessons. It literally means a person can rub off on others as they seek to disciple them. In other words, those who were discipled actually became like the ones who discipled them. When young people are mentored by others in a peer-to-peer way and take them under their wing, amazing things can happen. This sounds all a bit heavy. But all this feeds into the umbrella of fun, food, fellowship and friendship. But I haven't said much about the fun at the moment. The fun, the memories, the unscripted, the laughter, the spontaneous things that bond you together when you're away. My husband and I will remember times when we've got up at 5 a.m. to watch sunrise and sit down and watch a sunset together with the children. It may be just to tire them out because you don't get a lot of sleep. Camps and residentials are where I've heard a ridiculous amount of fun games, lots that came from Pinterest, like pirate ships and sailors' costumes and all. And how to take care of an egg, not a boat one, for a whole weekend. Designing and making things to protect it. I'm going to talk about the armour of God in there. And there's that one game where you put the Oreo on your forehead and use only your face muscles to get it into your mouth. And that can be done with chocolate buttons and with counters and lots of other things as well. Some of these things seem silly, but camp and residentials, it's meant to be that way. And even the silly things are moments that we look back on and remind us of our time and all the good times and memories that we have. But there's also the sharing. When they look at you and they want to have what you've got, and I want them to know Jesus, like I do. So if I look at the benefits of residentials, and these can be from day, weekend, or week residentials, what I've covered so far is confidence and self-esteem, social skills and making friends, independence and leadership qualities, willingness to try, values and decisions, helping youth own their faith, deepening spirituality, introducing spiritual disciplines, allowing young people to create new relationships, technology fasting, and Bible time in balance, discipleship, and fun, just fun times, making memories. It's quite a lot that you get into a residential, and all of these are covered in the, sorry, that shouldn't be at the top, I don't know how that was. I escaped that one. And all of this links into the 5 marks of mission and the easy way of remembering those. So tell, teach, tell, transform, treasure. And that's what we do at residentials. But don't take my word for this. Let's hear some words from people who have been. And it's so important to hear the individual's voice and to look at the benefits they've had. So I've gone around and spoken to the people who have been to some of our residentials. And let's hope this technology works. So here we go. So the youth camp I went to was loads of fun. I got to make new Christian friends that would help me grow in my faith. And personally, I got to connect with God in a more personal level independently. We played loads of games together and had a few sermon-type sessions and learned through different games how to pray, interpret the Bible and judge whether to share something or not, i.e. an action something someone did, or a word or scripture. The part of the youth camp I went to that stood out to me most was the worship. We had a great couple of worship sessions that everyone got involved in, which was lovely and fun. Such a lot of teenagers could really enjoy and connect with God over it. The overall trip was amazing, and I really can't wait for the next one. Another one said, you can forget about your daily life and social media for 5 days and focus on the presence of God, the power of God, and understand his teachings and how he shaped his own image in us. These are really profound found for young people. Due to the lack of Wi-Fi, it helps us all to connect into one another. Yes, there are times when a call from home is comforting, but the one reason why any of us would be on our phones would be to take pictures or videos to remember all the highlights that came from that week. Entering the field with a few hundred people that you've never met before seems daunting, but you soon find yourself speaking to others, whether that's from doing an activity in Bible study, having a general chat about the facilities whilst cleaning your teeth. The connections can be most random, but the friendships you make there are the connections, and the connections are worth making, and definitely you keep them. Everyone participates in free wash-ups with different people. We help to collect water to ensure the dishes can be washed. We actively participate in mass Bible study in all the activities that have been provided. On the Wednesday, there was a massive healing. We all came together to support one another. It can be quite an emotional service. The older youth who came with us were called young leaders. This was very helpful as they were more our age than the leaders and could be seen as more approachable. Therefore, when issues were raised, you knew you had someone you could talk to and you felt comfortable. And also to look at the benefits from a leader's point of view, so yours and my point of view. Trying to plan a week to help young people you don't know can be challenging. Although I found that after planning and praying about our themes year on year, they seem to hit home for the majority of young people. It's a challenge to choose them, but it makes us focus on God and press into Him, which is a good thing. So everything we do for the young people must be committed to prayer for it to be successful. And lastly, young people see other young people in leadership roles at these camps, at these residentials, and think, maybe I could do that. Thank you for listening. Perhaps you're now thinking, maybe I could do that. Thank you. Any questions?
Did you go to an organised one, like Spring Harvest, or did you organise it from the very beginning?
Both. I've done both. So we've organised from the ground up, and we've been to organised ones, and we've been to some that have catered as well. So I've got experience of doing all of them.
And have you restarted now that COVID's over?
We haven't yet.
My next question. Sorry.
No, please go ahead. The reason why we haven't restarted is we've got almost a four-year gap, 3-year gap in person work. We kept our work online. So we're still building those relationships with the children and with the parents, and we just weren't in a position to do it this year.
So how do we, if we totally believe in it and are as committed as you, go about asking our diocese to start doing it, to restart? Because we've had one in our diocese that's been very successful for many years, and cost-wise had to be stopped. So where would we start?
I think where you start is to be relational with everybody.
No, I don't mean that.
Okay.
I mean to get one started that is a diocesan one.
Oh, a diocesan one. Wow, that's going to be
Rather than, but we've got the expertise, and we have got the expertise.
I think where you start with to bring like-minded people together. So people who've got expertise, bring them together into a planning committee. From there you need to formulate what it's going to look like, where you're going to have it, and have a rough idea of where your costs are going to come from. Then I think you can put a bid in, so whatever funds you've got, is mission fund, evangelism fund, if you're going to put some funding into the pot of money that's coming out of the provincial budget. It could be that you might look at sponsorship mentorship within that as well. As I mentioned, it's great if people can own it. And I think they're the first things you've got to do really is to have a look what people want. You've got to be relational in it, because if you make it something that's not what the children want, they're not going to buy into it and they're not going to want to come. So, is that some ideas there?
Yeah,
Happy to have another conversation with it. Anybody else? Am I going to get away with it, Frank and Sean?
What do you actually see as the benefit of doing a residential?
The benefit of doing the residential is, in the children's own voices, they're able to come away from daily life. They're able to come away from pressures of people perhaps who aren't in the church life. And they're able to be developed within people who have a like-minded aspect on life. So they've got this spirituality, and they're able to develop that, supported by other people, it's running off with each other. But even if you have some people there who aren't in church, who don't yet know Jesus, that's okay as well. But young people felt they were able to be developed there, be supported there, be listened to. And I think that's it's that retreat, it's that being filled up, and that's what they've told me about it. So you have to shout at me, because the hand just gone up in the kitchen.
So I'm from Boys Brigade, Girls Association, so Helen, I'm going to bring you in here. So I volunteer at my church as part of Boys Brigade. It's more than Boys Brigade, yes, to try and bring people.
My dad was a Boys Brigade.
So for us, to me, retention is part of the residential experience, because we always do our residential at the end of the year where we're possibly going to drop off because it's sunny outside. So we always have the commitment, say from January, and the residential is happening in the summer, because someone, they've paid that deposit and it's like, well, you're going to go until the residential. But I think there's different friendships, and we have some at Boys where you've got people, the young people who come to church, you've got people who have come just because it's a provision that's there on the Monday. And to me, the relationships that are formed on a residential are much stronger. They might have met together for 3 years, for an hour and a half every single week, but the friendship doesn't gel until you go to a camp. And so that we do 2 or 3 camps a year for different age groups. But one, we go to our national camp, which is out in Hemel Hempstead, where all of the groups, it's not just BB groups, church youth groups come as well. And sometimes it's their only experience of like live worship. And the first year I volunteer at Inner City Salford Company, and the first year all our young people were running away from the worship camp, hiding because it was the unknown. Where now, and it's the same with your guys here from Swansea East Side, they've been now for 3 years. They know what to expect. There's people they've met from previous years. So that is the hook that keeps them in, and I think sometimes when they're wavering, so I'm really big advocate for actually, and I think putting something on yourself is great, but looking at other opportunities and ways to go in the first instance to get that in, because it's a lot of pressure.
And what you've echoed there is actually, I asked my son last night, who's now 33, who obviously came and camped with us and went off to residentials on his own. But just what you said there is what he said. And he said, Mum, I came from the Boyden Valleys, he said, and we had a context of our church and maybe our valley. And he said, you took me outside and you took me somewhere so I could see God was bigger than my church, God was bigger than my valley, God was everywhere. And that was really, really important to him, so much so that in his church where he is now, and he's got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-year-old, you will tell me I don't look old enough to have but now what they do is they obviously can't do the youth camp experience, but that has embedded in him so much that they do church family holiday to go away. And first of all, they did it just themselves, but now they do it to meet with other churches. So what you're saying is right, and it encouraged him in worship and encouraged him to go on to become a worship leader, which we didn't have that in our church. We were very much an organ church at that point. So what you're saying there is absolutely
the Unite camp, so we call it Unite, that's the national camp, where the aim of that was for small groups. If you've only got 3 or 4, so you could come with 2 young people, you could in theory come with 1 young person, or you could bring 20, 30, big groups. So there's a real mix, and they're in a village, so there's 3 villages, so you're lumped with other people to meet with. But that leadership team started off as one member of staff and some adult volunteers, where as the event has progressed, we're on like year 7 now, the planning team is all young people who've come through the event. So they might have gone off to university, they might not be involved anymore, but they come back to that, and it's very evident that the people who are at the forefront are people that have come through. So you're looking out every year, and there'll be young ones who are like, I want to be a village leader, because I want to be that. So
And have you started back up since COVID?
we had one last year. So it's May bank holiday. That was our first one since COVID, and the numbers were a lot less. We were at like 180. This year we were at 200, and I'd say this year is like the new normal, because it worked well. But we are seeing as an organisation, so when our groups go on residentials, they have to notify us so that we do like a residential notification. And I would say the numbers are progressively going down because of having volunteers to do it. So we're trying to club people together to go like within groups, because they think, well, I've only got 4, well, I've got 5, is it beneficial? So it's to try and sort of install, yes, there's other opportunities. So sorry, I didn't mean to hide
No,
it there.
and
But
what you say is right, because when I had smaller numbers, I combined together, when I was taking groups to Soul Survivor, that's what we did, is we combined together churches that only had 1, 2 or 3, into us we had a larger number to facilitate, so we could get the minibus or 2 minibuses or a minibus and a car, to be able to do that. And when we've done the pilgrimages to Walsingham, that's been larger numbers, but we still offer to other churches, if you've got 1 or 2, come with us. So it is important.
And we were very much, we did a consultation with volunteers this year at the event saying, as it had its day, because the numbers have not gone pre-COVID, and the overwhelming feedback was, no, we actually like it this more, because everybody gets to know each other. So in a way, when there's 400 or more, it's too big. So like, keep it at the numbers, won't it?
And you can see the children's confidence growing within them over the
Absolutely.
days. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And when we haven't been able to do full camps, I've done days, or I've just done an overnight. So there's just value in that, just having that time, that retreat time away. So if you can't do, the week or the weekend, or you can't go far, we literally have taken them up the mountain with a couple of tents, and everybody's DBS checked, everybody's safeguarded. But we've just had that time just away. I mean, actually, it wasn't that far. We probably could have walked in 7 minutes, but we took them on a longer route and got better. But we've done that, and we've done days where we've had picnics in the church halls. Just the fact that we've got this chance of them having this time together, this bonding time. So just start, if you can't do anything else, start with a day.
It's lifelong friendships created, sure.
You do, absolutely. Laura, you were saying about this. Laura, you've gone through camps, and it's made such an impression on you.
Yeah.
You talk about it when we're up to a day job, about, I did that many years ago, so I know.
I also met my husband through my
Yes, we have.
I wasn't going to cover the dating side of it, am I? Honestly, I didn't think about it, but I didn't. Anybody else?
Last year I did a pilot 3 nights away with 10 pilgrims, I call them, because of pilgrimage to St David's. And the idea was to bring, St David's diocese is really spread out, and it's very rural. So most churches have got 2 people in their youth group, So to do a youth residential, like you're saying, with 2 people, almost impossible. But for the diocese as a whole to be able to do. So last year we had 10. This year it's booked up 24. So it's more than double in 12 months. So it's like really worth doing. I did extend the invitation to Swansea and Brecon as well. So
Did you? Well, we didn't get it.
I did extend the.
Well, I got a team of 14 youngsters who are just dying and chomping at the bit to go on a residential. Chomping at the bit.
Well, there's something going on next weekend, isn't it? Spree is next weekend.
Spree is next weekend.
Yeah.
That's in Carmarthen.
I'm afraid it was free on my own.
And then, but the pilgrimage to St David's, I'm oversubscribed with volunteers, so I've got 10 DBF checked volunteers at the moment. and 24 young people. So I could easily take on more. But we've been really lucky. The diocese has subsidised 50% of the cost. I've also had sponsorship from places like Tesco's for food and that sort of thing. I've got, there's a doctor who heard about the work that we were doing in the diocese, Wiggin Bush, and she has specifically put money aside for us for children with autism. So I've got several autistic children on this as well. And then I've got the solicitors and Mothers Union have both put aside 2 spaces. So I've got 6 spaces paid for young people who perhaps can't afford it. And then, like you said, we've also suggested fundraising as well.
Yeah.
So I was completely overwhelmed with how well it went and the profound moments that we had. So even simple things like we used godly play with a bunch of teenagers in the evening. So you know when they've done the whole crazy things like all day long. I mean, we were wearing that, we were walking 3 or 4 miles, boiling hot sunshine every day, going into the cathedral, spending time at the shrine, and doing all sorts of wonderful activities. Not to mention sitting around a fire pit at about 10 o'clock at night with marshmallows. That was a mistake. Rookie mistake. Do not give children marshmallows at 10 o'clock at night. Rookie mistake. Because then they were doing river dancing in their rooms at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was fun. The godly play actually was really, really, the questions and the wondering that came out of them at that time of because we did it at the right time of the day as well, because we were beginning to sort of quiet down. It was really, really special, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. And I know it sounds scary, but actually it's not scary. Not once you've got a group of people behind you.
I'm glad you brought up there that people who are on the spectrum with you.
Yeah.
Because our second son is ASD.
Yeah.
And 1 year actually took 5 children who were on the spectrum in our camp. As long as you prepare and then you understand, find out what the triggers are or what they need and what the comfort factor is.
Yeah.
You know, it's great.
Yeah.
Because those parents coming over to me saying they've never been able to go on anything before. Nobody understood them. And it took an autistic parent as my husband and I to be able to do that. So, think about that and think about undertaking some training so that you know how to deal with children who are on the spectrum or other needs. For example, we have tried to learn British Sign Language, not hugely successfully, but we've got some basics. So think about, how other children could join in and benefit who may usually be left out.
And actually, I think it was talking to someone earlier on about we were talking about Spree. It's very easy for us to work in silos in our diocese, but actually we're more powerful if we work together. So I'm going to go along to Spree at weekend and try and see if there's any way that we as St David's Diocese can help Spree, and then I open the offer of the pilgrimage to. I'm not sure that our diocese will 50% pay for every child across the province, but I'm sure there is something that you can talk about with your own diocese about how your diocese might pay for the children to come on that pilgrimage. So this year we've got 25, maybe next year it'll be 50. I don't know, but there's things that we can do as a province, which I think is more powerful as a province than we are as individual dioceses.
Well, it's a bigger journey away from your home territory, isn't it?
It is.
And that would be very challenging.
We're sending children to Walsingham every year. Why are we not sending them to St David's, the home of our patron saint, instead of to Walsingham? Come on, people.
On raising the money, Angela mentioned, because the children backpacking, and that gets them out in the community as well. The people are wondering why we do it.
Wasn't it funny? Backpacking we've applied for it in Swansea. With church, they seem to, I suppose, do something like the church.
We've
not got the
We've
same.
done it through the church.
Yeah, we've done it through church. We
But it
have
is-
an offer of going in twice, if not 3 times a year, and they've got the t-shirts
Yeah,
on, so they know why.
People can actually see what
Yeah.
and they do buy into the
Absolutely.
process.
Does the colour go in, or do you go in?
Well, usually somebody with a colour. I haven't found
That might
particular.
be where you go wrong.
But
Yeah.
Could be, yes, could very well be.
within each Tesco's, there's somebody that works with the
There's a
charity
community,
sector.
there's a community.
You get to know that
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Because of Company Christmas that we have every year, they come in with us at Christmas as well. If you get to know that person, you can get it.
Yeah. As we've got very good links with our community champions because we do food pantry, we do food bank, we do food parcel delivery, we do company Christmas where we do Christmas Day dinners and entertainment for 100 people. So we've got a lot of, doing and struggling with them. But an average backpack that we do 2 weeks or a week before Christmas in Asda, we normally are able to put £1,000 into funds for our youth. So that makes a
But
huge
it's that
difference.
children taking part as well.
Definitely.
And-
I think you can't
Definitely.
justify the cost of that, but it's...
But everybody asks them, what you're doing this for? Then we're going to Christian camp. Then there starts a conversation. This is great. Really good.
Well, at the moment I'm doing carpet stairs, and the minute I say it's to take church children in, they don't they change. I say I'm taking children to a camp, they don't they change. But I just can't find a camp within our diocese to go to. We've got on It's where we met, the camp.
Well, we used to take ours. We did, we have done our own camps, but we used to take them elsewhere. So we've been, was it Greenbelt? Yeah, we went where the toilets weren't under the trenches, so it's okay. And we did not fall in, but apparently Steve Locke knows somebody who did. So there are a lot of organised camps that you can go to, and all different styles and traditions to go to.
Yes,
and
we
we've
have
taken
to know
them.
them. Because
Yes.
I find our church is a little bit insular.
Yeah.
We're getting a bit better, but it's a low end.
Yeah.
Now Neil Hook should have told us.
No,
Because we are very friendly.
Neil Hook's on my team.
I know. He's never told us that.
You mentioned traditions there as well, so
Yes.
that's the other thing. So Spree, it is very much more, upbeat, lots of loud music and that sort of thing. Whereas the pilgrimage is very much about being in a different place. It's not neither is right or wrong, but they are very different. And I think that's something that we miss a trick on sometimes, is that we think that children want the overstimulation
Not
all the
always.
time. And actually I'm not sure that's always the case, particularly the autistic children. And also children, they spend so much time in front of screens in school, and then, a lot of churches have got worship bands, and it's lovely and loud and wonderful, and I don't get me wrong, I love a good worship band myself, but actually something that really struck me when I was at college, and I was at college with someone who was 20 years old, far younger than me, and they said they'd got to the point where all the loud music and it was too much. They needed somewhere they could just be themselves. And so the pilgrimages, that act of walking around the coastal path and sitting and reading and taking it all in. We do Bible study once, sat by the edge of looking out over to the other islands. You can't, it's wonderful. So it's kind of swings around about, but both are really valid things to do.
And I think it's important as well to expose children to different traditions.
Yeah.
And they can decide, they can make a decision of where they want to go. So if we've done a loud camp,
Yeah.
then perhaps what we'll do with our day will be something quieter. If we've done a quiet pilgrimage,
Yeah.
then what we'll do as our activities will be louder.
Louder,
So we
yeah.
try and complement so that the children can make the choices themselves.
Yeah.
They can own their spiritual life, they can own their development. They can form the wonder and the why out of what they're exposed to and make that relationship.